Hi there, in this video I'm taking a look at the new Kindle Voyage by Amazon. This is really a nice upgrade from prior versions of the Kindle, and it does have several new features that you should be aware of, especially if you're considering either upgrading or getting a Kindle for the first time. This is the box that it comes in. It's sort of a slipcase here, and inside you've got your quick start guide. It also comes in plastic, and then I've already taken it out, but it comes with a black USB charge cable as well. As in the several prior versions of the Kindle, it does not come with an AC adapter charger though. So you can either buy a Kindle charger separately for it, or you can actually use your existing USB charger. Pretty much any USB charger, such as your iPhone or iPad, will actually work with the Kindle and the cable that it comes with, so that's no problem. So here's the box, and on front of it, it says, "You will travel in a land of marvels, Jules Verne." So that's a quote. And here on the back, basically, I'll read you some of the summary of some of the new features. This is the Wi-Fi version with special offers, so this does not have the 3G. I just opted for the Wi-Fi. It has 4 gigabytes of daylight readable, 300 ppi touch display, built-in light, and page turn button. So it has several new features versus the prior Kindle Paperwhite model. So let's take a look at the new hardware. Here it is here on the sort of off mode, or standby mode, and this is just an ad that they're showing now with the special offers. But the first thing you'll notice is it has a completely flat bezel here. It's just part of the screen. Prior versions of the Kindle actually had like a little bezel right there, a little dip on the screen that you could feel. Well, this goes all the way to the edge, and it's all one smooth screen, which is really nice. Also, the screen is a lot smoother. It doesn't have that rough feel to it anymore. It's not 100% glossy or sheen or anything like that. It is a little bit, anti-reflective. As you can see, if I move it around here in the light, it does have an anti-reflective coating on it, but it's smooth. It's not, real shiny or anything like that. Now, flipping this around the back, you can kind of see an all-new design here. It has a bit of a shiny plastic part here, which I believe is where the antennas are for either Wi-Fi and 3G. And then your power button is now a little button right here on the back of it, which is, real comfortable to press. And then the back's got sort of a rubbery, grippy feel to it as well. But it has a bit of that origami, lines to it on the back. And they also have a new case called the origami case, which also functions as a stand for this as well. I'm currently just using my old case, which works perfectly fine for me, and has worked for the last couple of generations of Kindles for me, and it's just the Kindle slip case here that I've done a review on before on my channel. It works fine for me, and I'm sticking with it. The back is a little bit rubbery, and as you can see, it does attract fingerprints a little bit, but that's really no big deal. It does help you grip it, and this is how it looks when you're just holding it in one hand. I gotta say, the hardware feels very sturdy, much sturdier than prior versions even, and it just feels really rugged and like a nicely built device, very quality. There isn't anything that creaks or anything as I press on anything. It just feels nice and solid, yet at the same time it's pretty light. So I feel like this is pretty rugged, and definitely rugged, and probably more rugged than prior versions as well. Taking a look at the bottom, there's where you would plug in your power or sync USB cable. And if I press the power button on the bottom, look closely here, you can see where the LED light turns on. So that'll be green when it's charged up, and it will be amber when it's charging. That little light right there. So I did want to show that to you. Let me go ahead and turn it on, and I'll swipe to unlock. That should bring me into, well, that's in the book that I am currently in right now, or a magazine, but I'll go back to my home page here. Now let me just go ahead and go into a book here. One of the main new features is that you actually have these sort of virtual buttons right here, both on the left and the right, to go back and forward. And the cool thing is it now has haptic feedback. So when you press these sort of lightly, you can actually feel it sort of vibrate a little bit when you turn the page. It's very subtle, it's completely silent, but it just lets you know that you turned the page successfully, which is really nice. So the line on either side is to go forward, and then the little dot is to go back on either side. So if you're reading with one hand, it's no problem. You can go forward and backward without a problem at all. If you want to, you can still swipe to go forward like you could before, and you can swipe to go back as well. And also it still has the same, touch screen where you can just tap on the screen to go forward if you want, like that, and tap on this part of the screen to go back if you want, just like that. So that part hasn't changed, but they did add these sort of haptic feedback buttons here on the bezel, which I find really nice. It just helps you know that you actually turned the page, whereas before you didn't necessarily know if you turned the page or not when you're reading, so that's definitely a nice improvement. Tapping up on the top will still bring up the menu bar on the top, and you've still got your familiar menus here. One thing they did add to the menu is the G menu, which stands for Goodreads. Now I'm on airplane mode, so I'm going to go ahead and go out of airplane mode, which will happen automatically since I've already hooked this up to my home Wi-Fi. And Goodreads is basically an online forum, to basically talk about and share books that you've read and to get book recommendations and stuff. Now, I haven't created an account for that yet, so I won't log in here, but I did want to show that to you. Also new in the Kindle Voyage is an auto brightness feature. So you can actually set your preferred brightness here like you always could, but then now they have a checkbox for auto brightness. What that means is if you go into a dark environment or a pitch black room, it'll automatically not be as bright, and you don't have to actually manually adjust it. So that's quite nice. So ideally, you probably never would have to adjust the brightness. Once you get your level setting how you want it in any given environment, it should auto adjust. Now it also has an additional feature for the light. If you go into settings and then device options and then screen light, you can actually set a night light mode where it'll actually automatically dim as the room gets dimmer. So let's say you start reading at dusk, for example, and then the sun starts going down and you don't have any lights on. Pretty soon, after maybe an hour, you're in pitch black darkness. The Kindle will automatically adjust, very slowly for the light level of your room environment. So that's really nice. I haven't tested that very much as of yet, and I haven't really noticed it dimming, but I think that's the point. I don't think you're supposed to notice it, but it does make it a lot easier on your eyes over time because, the light will actually dim based on the amount of light in the room. This Kindle does have an ambient light sensor right here. I don't know if you can see it, but right down there, it does have a little ambient light sensor, so it can sense the amount of light that's in the room. Definitely a nice feature. Now in terms of the screen, they did up the resolution a bit. It's nothing drastic, but it certainly does look more crisp than any Kindle previously. Sometimes in the past you've been looking at the e-ink and sometimes the text would look a little bit fuzzy, especially if you get real up close to it. On this one, it's very hard to discern any fuzziness on the text whatsoever. The text looks really sharp. Now it's nothing, super miraculous, but it's definitely an improvement that I notice when I'm reading. What I thought I'd do right now is go ahead and turn off the lights, and you can see what this looks like in total darkness with the backlight on. So let me go ahead and turn off my room lights here. Now it's totally pitch black in this room, and you can see what it looks like. Now it's not going to be super bright because it's not supposed to be. When you're in a pitch black room, you actually want the light a little bit dim, so it's not like hurting your eyes or anything. It's still quite legible, but one thing you will notice, and you can probably pick it up in this video a little bit, is the e-ink is not 100% uniform, and this has been something that is just sort of normal for e-ink displays. You can kind of see on the top it's a little bit creamy colored, and then it gets clearer as you go to the bottom. Maybe you can see it more if I move this around. So that's something to be aware of, and it's definitely a lot more noticeable when you're reading in a completely dark room as it is right now. However, one thing to note is that you definitely get used to it, and after a while, it's just not a big deal. It's almost like paper in a way, because paper has different shading sometimes, or you have different lighting when you're reading a paper book, and so you have some little imperfections here on the e-ink, which I think is perfectly fine and totally normal. For the most part, everything else in the menu system is going to be familiar to you if you've had a Kindle before. It's pretty familiar in terms of how to navigate and in terms of how you navigate and everything. There's now something called Kindle Free Time, which is new. That's for if you have kids, you can actually assign them books to read or have them earn badges and stuff like that for reading books on their Kindle or on your Kindle. I have to say I really like the ergonomics of this. I definitely like that the sleep awake button is now in the back rather than on top. It's just easier to reach. I certainly like the buttons on the bezel now that you can actually feel when you turn a page, which is really nice. And I definitely like how smooth the screen feels and the fact that it's flush. I really think it's a nice, welcome evolutionary upgrade over prior versions of the Kindle. The screen is definitely sharper. The additional button features are quite nice. It seems quite zippy and fast. And it also seems quite rugged and very nicely built. even better than prior versions of the Kindle, which is saying a lot because the Kindle was always a pretty rugged device in my opinion. So this has been my look of the new Amazon Kindle Voyage. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them, and I'll see you in my next video.